Hello, this is Shira, and this is your 2022 Libra Rising astrological outlook. And what a year for you, Libra Rising, it will be. To start off the year, we've got Mercury retrograde from January 14th to February 3rd, and that will be for you in your natal fifth house, Libra rising in unique Aquarius, and then it will flip back to the serious-minded Capricorn. But while Mercury is going to be in Aquarius, that blends with your Libra rising. And so this is going to be a very unique and creative time for you, especially with Mercury retrograde. Perhaps you're going to revisit some of those artistic matters or revisit plans with the kids or the grandkids, and perhaps maybe it might get a little bit frustrating for all you single Libra risings with the dating pool. But hey, thank goodness Mercury retrograde is brief. Nonetheless, a good time for communication in all fifth house matters. Now, once Mercury flips back into your fourth house of the family, yes, there is going to be a square with or a so-so aspect with your rising sign Libra, but this is a time that you will take all family matters and possible renovations or repairs to your home rather seriously. So there may be some delays. Yes, there could be conflicts, but don't worry, Libra rising. Saturn and the ruler of Capricorn, or Capricorn's ruler of Saturn, is about karma. And with Mercury in the karmic sign of Capricorn, right now anything you do, even with Mercury retrograde, is going to benefit you in the long run. Perhaps some of those mishaps or miscommunications with family or connected with repairs will actually benefit you in the long run. So look to the good side of this definitely Mercury karmic retrograde in Capricorn at this time, Libra rising. Now, then we'll have Mars in the fun, zesty, funny sign of Sagittarius starting in January of 2022. Now, Mars loves to be in Sagittarius. Why? Because the ruler with Mars is Aries, and Aries is a fire sign, as is Sagittarius. So right now you're going to feel rather zesty, outgoing, and maybe a little silly, connected with your neighbors, your vicinity. And right now you're going to be rather, well, outspoken with the written or spoken words. Just make sure you're not overly outspoken, Libra rising. But Mars makes a beautiful and blessed sextile to your rising sign, so you'll find the right words to say to those around you. Great time, and you may have ambition for getting that new vehicle, or perhaps doing vehicle repairs at this time as well, because Mars, the planet of action, is in your third house. Now, we've got Mars in Capricorn with Pluto in February. Well, we're back into the Pluto Capricorn and the fourth house area again. So with Mars there right now, Libra rising, you're going to feel especially active, kind of like with the Mercury in Capricorn there, but more so with Pluto and Mars. You're going to feel so focused on repairs any kind of renovations, anything to do with real estate or the family. Wow, what an ambitious time for you. But be careful of any and all conflicts with family, because there's a little bit of a so-so aspect with your rising sign. And with the intensity of Mars, you want to just pull back on the reins of some of that intense focus and determination, that competitive nature right now. If you do that and you focus on all your fourth house matters, Libra rising, you're going to be just fine. Now, we've got then Uranus direct in February on the 18th in Uranus in Taurus, and that will be in your natal 8th house. And what is the 8th house, Libra rising? It is the house of depth. So right now with Uranus going or I should say Uranus coming out of its retrograde phase and going direct, you're going to feel like you are no longer held back to express your deepest emotions and feelings right now. Maybe there's been an issue with getting closure, beginning a particular project or something important, because the 8th house rules beginnings and it rules endings. Maybe you want to kind of close the book on some of those wills or trusts that you've been dealing with, and now you've got the green light. But nonetheless, it's a good time for soul searching because of the depth of the 8th house and Uranus there, especially with some of those original and unexpected unique insights. Now we have from January the 29th, we've got Venus in Capricorn, and we're back to that fourth house connection again. But this time it sweetens the pot because we're talking about Venus here. And Venus is, yes, very sweet indeed. So if there has been a little boat rocking going on with family or those closest to you, or frustrations with your abode and repairs and so on, right now with Venus there, you'll be able to smooth over any of those ruffled feathers with those family relations. But this is all too good. Because Venus is very creative, and it allows you to put just a dash of artistry in some of that house renovation. Now, we are looking ahead to Jupiter in Pisces, and Jupiter is about what, Libra rising? It's about expansion. And so in your 6th house, you are going to have mega opportunities for any job that you want. And that can also be that you are looking for a promotion, so you could be getting a job in your job. This is the time to ask for a raise or a promotion, Libra rising, because you are going to be so compassionate and sensitive. Those you work with and do business with are just going to think your insight, your creativity, and sensitivity are just right on the mark right now. So this is going to expand all areas of health and wellness. You're going to go all out. Maybe you're looking to lose weight. Maybe you're looking to be healthier right now. But whatever you do, it's going to be very positive. Also, just be careful, Libra rising, that with Jupiter in the 6th, you don't expand the waistline, indeed, because Jupiter is such a happy planet, you may, without even realizing it, and all this work and with all this opportunity, just see that suddenly the waistline has expanded. And because Jupiter, like Venus, loves sweets and good food, so that's also another year of expansion for you. Now we've got Mercury with Saturn in Aquarius, and that's mid-February. Then with Jupiter, the end of February to March 9th, we've got Mercury with Pisces. So to start off, we've got Mercury with Saturn in that fifth house connection again. And Mercury is the communicator. But with Saturn, Sirius Saturn, you may feel like your frustrations or delays or your discussions are just a little bit more serious minded, connected with the kids or the grandkids. But it's very good because wherever Saturn is, this Libra rising is what you take very seriously. So this time with Saturn in your natal fifth house, you are going to take gambling seriously. You're going to take the kids and the grandkids and fun very seriously right now. You're going to take your artistry and possibly maybe even a hobby or a career with anything to do with music or art, all forms of creativity and expression, the fifth house, very serious. So even Saturn there with Mercury is very positive, and it's what you are very seriously focused on. Then we've got Jupiter, the end of February to March 9th, with Jupiter and Pisces with Mercury. So it goes Mercury with Saturn to Jupiter in Pisces with Mercury from the end of February to March 9th. So yes, you're going to go from the serious fifth house matters with Saturn and Mercury to the fun, compassionate, and creative Mercury with Jupiter. So your thinking is going to be all about how perhaps you can improve your work area or improve Pisces compassion with your coworkers or your employees or who you do business with. And it's going to allow you a certain intuition and psychic insights into your health and a health regime. And who knows, you may decide to be compassionate enough to get a wonderful pet at this particular time. Then in late February to early March, we've got Venus with intense Pluto in Capricorn. So again, we've got that fourth house family connection. But right now, yes, you will still, like Mars, have to kind of loosen the reins with your intensities and your opinions concerning fourth house matters with family or repair, possibly real estate. You will have to kind of detach yourself a little bit, Libra rising. But with Venus there, it allows you to be at the height of expression and expressing your sense of balance and harmony with family. So if there's been any conflicts in the matters of dealing with family or possibly anything to do with real estate or anything to do with repairs and renovation or even purchasing property right now, Libra rising, this is the time that you're going to smooth over any differences with such lovely Libra rising behavior and attitudes. So this is the time, if there has been conflict, to just create that Libra rising artistic balance with fourth house matters. Now, looking ahead, we've got Venus in Aquarius mid-March, then Mars in April. So we've got first Venus in Aquarius and then Mars in Aquarius in your natal fifth house. Again, we've got that wonderful creative time for you again with the fifth house this spring, Libra rising in March and April. And Venus in Aquarius is rather uniquely artistic. And that blends very well with your Libra rising sign. And with Mars there, with the fifth house, this year it's going to be about creativity. And Libra rising, this isn't just going to be creative in your personal life, or yes, it could be that you're taking seriously a hobby right now that is rather artistic, but it seems because of this fifth and sixth house connection that you're going to bring a certain sense and awareness and beauty and artistry into your work and your business life. And this could be a time when you are going to decide to take that hobby to the next level. Maybe you want to have a part-time career with expression, something about starting a blog, or taking up that musical instrument, or painting, anything where you express your creativity, fashion. Hey, and you might even bring the kids and the grandkids into that while you're traveling and having so much fun with Fifth House Matters this spring. Now we've got Jupiter in Aries, May 10th, then with Mars. So first Jupiter goes into Aries, and then on May 10th, it's going to join up with Mars in very zesty Aries in your seventh house of partnerships. So once Jupiter leaves Pisces and enters Aries, Jupiter also, by the way, Libra rising, loves to be in Aries because it's a very buoyant and positive fire sign, and Jupiter rules the fire sign of Sagittarius. So there's much optimism and much in common here. And with your seventh house, Libra rising, first you're going to have mega opportunities for jobs, employment, health. Now you're going to have a lot of opportunities with many possible and probable suitors in your life. So for you unattached Libras, oh my goodness, this is a time that you're not just going to find anybody to date. That's more like the fifth house. This is a time that Jupiter in Aries is going to bring quality suitors into your life. People that you may decide to, seventh house, settle down and have some kind of a serious live-in or committed relationship. It's also a time, if there's been issues with legalities or court issues, that the issues will be resolved, and possibly, and again, this depends on your personal birth chart, in a positive way, in favor of you. Legalities will go really great, but also it's a good time for all types of contract negotiations and business deals with Jupiter and Mars there. Okay, so then we have just before the Jupiter in Aries time frame, we will have Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. Now, keep in mind again, this is before Jupiter and Mars go into Aries. And this will be in mid-May. So before they jump ship into Aries, the sixth house is going to retain focus for you this year, Aries. Then with Jupiter in Aries, Libra rising. So we've got Neptune, which will remain there for quite some time yet in your sixth house. But with Mars joining up and with Jupiter finishing up in Pisces, this is a time you may find before Jupiter goes into Aries that you want to get closure and you want knowledge of information connected with your work. Maybe you're wanting to know if you're going to get that raise. Maybe you want to know if you're going to get that job or the career that you've been going after and working so hard for, sixth house. But it's a time of hard work and focus with your health, co-workers, And as aforementioned, maybe you're going to be thinking about getting that pet that you've been having your eye on for some time. And then, as we discussed earlier, Jupiter and Aries with Mars, great for seventh house connections, legalities, partnerships. Then we jump into May 10th to June 3rd. We've got Mercury Retrograde Gemini at the top of your chart to Taurus, and that's respectively Libra Rising, Gemini to Taurus, retrograde, 9th to 8th house. And what does 9th house rule? Libra Rising, but the 9th house is about, yes, to some degree, communication, because it is opposite of the 3rd house. So you will be doing a lot of communicating right now, but especially communications regarding long distance or long distance travel. Perhaps you have wanted to go back to school, and with this Mercury retrograde phase from May 10th to June 3rd, you may find that there's some setbacks and you may have to delay the time you want to go back to school later on this year or in 2023. However, it's also a good time to have connections with people from other cultures and long distance travel. However, as all Mercury retrograde phases, not a time to sign on the line. Then once we've got Mercury jumping back into your 8th house of depth. Yes, the 8th house is of expression of what really we feel very serious minded about, our deeply held beliefs. But with Mercury now retrograde in that 8th house and with Uranus, you may feel a little bit frustrated now, Libra Rising, that whatever you say is falling on deaf ears, or you can't really express how you feel very deeply and intimately to those closest to you. Maybe you feel like you've wanted to close the book on a particular issue or relationship, or perhaps you want to begin one because the 8th house is about beginnings and it is about endings, or you want to deal with a will or a trust, and there could be some frustrations with this. But don't worry, thank goodness right now Mercury retrograde is, as always, rather brief, Libra Rising. Then we've got June 4th, we've got Saturn in Aquarius, where Libra Rising, but your 4th house. So we've got this 4th house emphasis going on again. Now with the retrograde Saturn there, yes, there could be frustrations with, your 5th house. To reiterate that, your 5th house, yes, there could be a lack of fun now because, yes, Saturn can be Libra Rising, rather sobering. But remember, Saturn takes much seriously. And right now, especially with Saturn retrograde, there could be stumbling blocks with taking that long-held trip with the family, with the kids or the grandkids you wanted to. And maybe there could be snags with getting that artistic or creative hobby or career off the ground. But don't worry, Saturn even retrograding your 5th is very fine for you taking all 5th house matters rather seriously, even with some frustration. Remember, Saturn is the planet of karma, Libra Rising, so everything with a lot of hard work in whatever house it occupies will bring much in the way of rewards for you. Now, we then have June 28th, we've got Neptune in Pisces retrograde. So we've got Saturn and now retrograde Neptune. And what is Neptune? No matter what house it's in, Neptune is either compassionate, high-minded, idealistic, compassionate, and sensitive. But Neptune can also be deceptive, a little bit sneaky. So with Neptune retrograde in your sixth house, just be sure, Libra rising, that those that you do business with or you work with are on the up and up, and they are very truthful to you. If at the very least you're confused about starting anything connected with your health or wellness matters, this might be wise to hold off until Neptune goes direct. Now we've got Jupiter in Aries retrograde from July 28th to November 23rd, and it will be retrograde Libra rising in your natal seventh house. Now, thank goodness this is only going to be for 4 months, the end of July to the end of November. So, who knows, because the seventh house is connected with partnerships and legalities, contracts, business, dealing with the public, and creating a certain balance in the area, in these areas. There's also a possibility during this 4-month time frame, Libra rising, that someone from your past, yes, retrograde Jupiter, who you really cared very much about, Jupiter, who brought an abundance, Jupiter, of good humor or fun and zestfulness into your life, may return. It could be somebody that's a friend, or it could be a past love, or maybe even somebody that you used to do business with, and you may want to reacquaint yourself with this person. Now, there could be frustrations in the areas of legalities as well, but nonetheless, even Jupiter retrograde in the seventh house is going to add a lot of fun and a lot of zestfulness connected with your seventh house matters. Now, we've got late May to mid-June, we've got Venus with Taurus. We're back into the 8th house. And as always, Libra rising, the 8th house is about, yes, depth, deep feelings, really expressing how you feel to your sweetheart, because it rules intimacy. And who knows, you might want to do some soul searching and look into some of those metaphysical and spiritual issues and matters right now. And this, in a way, will be, especially with Venus in Taurus, very fulfilling. Now, what else does Taurus rule? It rules finance, and Taurus like their stuff. So you may find yourself being rather possessive right now. But 8th house also rules Libra rising, big money, and Taurus likes money and finance as well as their stuff and good food. And with Venus there, you may find right now you've got a knack for making some big money and doing some serious, sweet, beautiful, harmonic investments with Venus with Taurus. Then we've got Mars, yes, the planet of action, with unique and the unexpected Uranus in Taurus in August. So first we've got sweet harmonic Venus, then we've got that action-oriented Mars with the unpredictable Uranus in your 8th house in August. So with this summer, you're going to be very uniquely Uranus inspired 8th house. However, Taurus can be a rather possessive sign as well. And in your 8th house and with Uranus there, you don't want to get into any conflicts with whom you are intimately involved, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it is your significant others. However, you may join up with certain monetary financial investments as well that will pay off for you unexpectedly in the long run. Now we've got our third and final retrograde phase for 2022 with Mercury retrograde September 9th to October 2nd. And where, pray tell, Libra rising will that be? But your first house, Mercury retrograde, then it will jump back to your 12th house of the hidden and the secretive during that time frame. So first it's going to be over your first house and then your 12th house. And what is Mercury retrograde in Libra? But like you, Libra rising, what does this represent? Harmony, beauty. And with Mercury in Libra and in your first house for you, Libra rising, this will be particularly important because it is how you project your image, what you say to others, the first handshake, how you appear, how you want to come across. And with Mercury in Libra, even retrograde, you're going to have a certain knack to really communicate harmony with others and balance. And who knows, you might have a particular knack right now, especially with a Libra rising, even Mercury retrograde, with fashion and art and projecting your unique, gorgeous Libra rising style. But just make sure with this Mercury over your first house, because Mercury is the communicator, though yet you don't say or do the wrong thing that may cause you frustration or put other people's off, because Libra rising likes to get along and likes to cooperate. So do look at the good side of this Mercury retrograde phase. Now, once Mercury jumps back to its own and most elevated in Virgo in your 12th house, the 12th house is about the hidden, the mysterious, secrets or unknown. And with Mercury there right now, retrograde, you may find out about certain secrets that were kept for you from a long time. Some information may come out about right now. Honestly, Libra rising, that could be rather frustrating. However, the 12th house is about surgeries and kind of like the 6th house about medical. Maybe you're going to jump back to the past to have some medical procedures, or it's a good time in this 12th house to do some retrospection and some counseling and to connect with others on a deep level as far as your feelings, somewhat like the 8th house right now. But at the very least, you'll be doing some soul searching with the past. But just don't be too frustrated, because remember, Libra rising, this time is rather brief with Mercury retrograde. Now we've got a very highlighted event for this year with a beautiful and a blessed air grand trine in October. So with all that confusion or delays with the Mercury retrograde in October, there's equally going to be a wonderful blessing, especially for you, Libra rising. First off, we've got the Sun in Libra on your first house. And we've got Mars in Gemini, and that's in your ninth house at the top of your chart. And depending on your birth chart, Libra rising, you may have the MC or the midheaven in Gemini, which is amazing for your career. Then we've got Saturn in Aquarius in your fifth house of fun. And what again, Libra rising? Creativity and artistry. A complete, beautiful, and blessed grand air trine come October. What does this mean for you? Well, for you in particular, Libra rising, this is going to affect your first house. And even though Mercury will be retrograde just before then, it's still a time where you will be able to project your best self. And as always, Libra rising, you are about beauty, you are about creativity, and at this time with the first, ninth, and fifth house connection, you are going to be very popular. You are very detached as an air sign rising, and especially now with this air grand trine, you're going to be very logical and not just popular, but you are going to look at these areas, first house, ninth house, and fifth house, from a very balanced and detached objective and in a very attractive manner. Because the good thing about air is you don't get mixed up with the drama. And right now, in particular, Libra rising, you're going to feel very lighthearted. You're going to be sought after for, well, that gorgeous, beautiful Libra rising fashion, sense, and style. You are going to be sought after for your career and your communication, possibly what your opinions are. And educational pursuits will go well at this time, as well as those, what again, Libra rising, fifth house matters. And that is additionally, again, creativity, artistry, and fun while you're creating those designs or writing those pieces of music. This is going to be of the highlight of 2022, the best time for your career and fashion, artistic sense, you name it. This is the highlight for you. And boy, people are going to seek you out in October. Then we've got Mars retrograde October 30th in Gemini. So even though there is this retrograde Mars and Gemini in your ninth house at the top of your chart, Libra rising, Gemini Mars still makes a positive aspect with your rising sign. So your reputation right now is going to be at the best. People are going to seek you out. Whatever you say, you're going to be like waving a magic wand. People are going to sit up and listen to you. But with Mars retrograde, and again, possibly on your midheaven, you may have some delays connected with your career. Perhaps you've wanted to go all out and really express yourself in the highest to your business associates and plan all those negotiations and those meetings. Gemini, you're going to be just so communicative and so busy. But in all this variety and in all this communication connected with 9th, 10th house matters, there's going to be some delays. Maybe some of those talks regarding that new business or business issues will have to be put off to another day. And just watch your speech, Libra rising, because with Mars retrograde, sometimes it's easy to be a little bit of a bit superficial right now. And so connected with the 9th house matters, 10th house matters. You want to make sure you come across as very serious and, yes, communicative with this Mars retrograde, but you want to come across as one who has focus, because Gemini Mars can be a bit scattered. But if you focus on what you want and you are really going to go after what you want, Mars at the top of your chart, you will do just fine, Libra rising. Then we've got Saturn, oh boy, and Neptune finally going direct in October. So Saturn, the planet of responsibility, and very serious-minded Saturn in your 5th house. If you have felt stymied or held back with the 5th house matters, right now you're going to be full steam ahead. Maybe that hobby that you put on the back burner is finally going to become more of a career prospect for you. And who knows, maybe some of that gambling will finally pay off, and there's not going to be the frustrations that you've held doing all kinds of fun and creative efforts. So Saturn there now going direct is going to be very favorable for you, Libra rising. And to boot, we've got Neptune going direct in October as well. Two biggie planets on the block going direct, and that will be direct in your 6th house. So if there's been some deceptive problems with coworkers, or you haven't been quite sure, or you've been on and off about the diet, well, now you're going to be full steam ahead and very focused, Neptune direct, in your 6th house of 6th house matters. Now, we then have the end of October, we've got Jupiter jumping back into Pisces from Aries. So Jupiter will then go back retrograde now in your 6th house. And then it will go back into Aries on December 20th. So what is Jupiter? The planet of expansion, generous Jupiter in your 6th house. Well, with generous, happy Jupiter in your 6th house, you may feel like you want to put the brakes on some of these opportunities. There are, as of yet, still going to be many opportunities to expand your career or expand on your business or what have you, your health regime, and so on and so forth. However, with Jupiter retrograde in the 6th house, you may feel like some of the opportunities that you thought were so great were not for you. Or some of the talks and discussions that you had with a business partner to expand on the business, or talks in your workplace about a raise right now or a promotion, will have to be put on hold. But thank goodness, as with all retrogrades, Libra rising, even this Jupiter retrograde is rather brief and will head right back into Aries on December 20th. Now, finally, we've got Venus in Scorpio. Oh my goodness, it's the 2nd house this time of finance. And that makes a beautiful and blessed trine with Neptune. And what is water Neptune in with Pisces and water Venus in Scorpio about? But about emotions. And with this beautiful and blessed trine with Scorpio Venus in your 2nd house and Pisces Neptune in your 6th house, right now you are going to feel especially inspired, and especially with Venus Libra rising in your second house, you may actually look into making extra money doing something that is connected with these two water signs. Maybe you're good at counseling others, or maybe you are a latent psychic and have psychic abilities, and you may think about bringing in extra money through the psychic or metaphysical. And also Pisces and Scorpio are healers. So maybe you might think about a career or business, sixth house, and making money, second house, in something that's medical. That could be esoteric, like nutrition, or dealing with the esoteric medical arts, or it could be traditional medicine. But right now, these areas are going to be very appealing for you with your career and money, but especially money matters right now are going to be very sweetened, Libra rising, with Venus trine Neptune in your second house of income. Wow, what a good time for you to save, make money, and increase on some of those collections that you've had, Libra rising. Now, to finalize the year, we've got Venus in Sagittarius, your third house of communication and neighbors. We've got Mars in Gemini, long distance travel, higher learning, education, cultural, anything, higher beliefs. And we've got Neptune in Pisces. So we've got a T-square going on. So Neptune in Pisces is what? It's a little bit confusing or deceptive, mysterious, secretive. And it squares off with the Gemini Mars in your ninth house of travel and education. And then it makes another square to Venus in Sagittarius. So a mutable T-square will apply now in your third, ninth, and sixth houses. So what does this mean, Libra rising? Well, anytime you've got a bit of a deceptive T-square, it can be frustrating in these matters. So right now, although there's a grand trine going on in October, we've got Jupiter retrograde, you've got some favorable sixth house aspects right now. There's also this frustration, just a slight annoyance between the third house neighbors or connections with your vehicles and the communicative written or spoken word. There's connections with travel or speaking your mind about what you really, ninth house, believe, and the sixth house with coworkers or your business ideas. But if you can get past this annoyance, it's rather brief as well, then you're going to be just fine, Libra rising. And by the way, with all this creativity going on for you, especially with the fifth and sixth house emphasis and the eighth house of depth and all the other houses and the aspects, well, Libra rising, this year for you too will be very memorable as well as rather rewarding. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is down below. I give one-on-one readings and written reports. Please subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification. Until next time, many, many blessings.